We're going to drape a basic bodice that we could use as a sloper with 2 darts. I'm going to have a waist dart landing right here on the princess line, and then I'm going to do a side bust dart in this one for the front. The back will have a shoulder dart and a waist dart again on the princess. We'll draft it, or we'll drape it to have just a standard armhole for a sleeve. So we'll get to that in a minute. Before I start, I need to bridge the bust points with a bra. The reason we do this, we're going to put just a piece of muslin across here, is because the distance, once I get the muslin across, down center front, through this air, like across the bra, is a little greater than if I went right against the dress form. And if I go right against the dress form, I end up like a little short right here. And that's not how we typically are. So just take a scrap of muslin, and I usually pin it just kind of to the middle of each side panel, so I can cut it off about right there. I prefer to use a bigger piece of muslin than like a little piece of tape. So I feel this is more secure. Now we're ready. I've already prepared my 2 muslin blocks. If you want to refer back to my skirt video, I talk about how to measure for the blocks, but 3 inches at each unknown point, unknown edge I added on. So there and there, side, but only 1 inch was needed extra at the center front because that's a known edge. So here's my front block. It's all torn, trued up, pressed, and I can get it positioned here. So I'm just going to anchor down center front. Putting my pins in this direction, because if I put my pins in that direction and then I pull, it slips. But when I push them like that, it anchors it. And see, I'm not collapsing the bra. I'm not in real tight here. If I was, I might have that much short. So just lay it across the bra and to there. I'm going to go on and pin it over here at the side, but this will all kind of change once I get my side bust dart in here. But I do like to see that cross grain line at the bust level, parallel to the floor. Okay. I said I'm doing a side bust dart, so I could work neckline, shoulder, and armhole all the way over to here without worrying about any darts or anything. And then I can work to the waist and around. The first thing I have to do is clip away some of this at the neck. So we want this to lay smooth against the neck. When you see pulls like this, it's telling you you need to clip. I want to clip to, but not through this seam on the dress form. I can be a little away from it, even if, as long as I can get it to lay smooth. So that's looking pretty good. When I'm draping, I just want it to, the muslin to lay against the form. I don't want to like stretch it and get it super tight. It shouldn't look vacuum sealed or anything. We're not reupholstering the dress forms. We're making clothes to fit. The shoulder should just lay nice and smooth. And I can put a pin over here. And then we'll come on around. So here's some of my side bust dart. But I can smooth around the armhole, and I'm going to let that stay right there. Maybe I should clip away some of this armhole though. That's good. I'm going to pause and come work a little towards the front waist dart. I need to clip in here to release some of the tension. Smooth it over. I can feel that princess seam, so that'll be where my dart starts. And since I've got my side secure here with the cross grain, I can work this much in for my waist dart, and then this amount here can be my side bust dart. Helps to balance it, keeping this for one dart and this for the other. This would be an armhole dart if I wanted, or it could even be up here in the shoulder. But today we're putting it at the side. Okay. Smooth down the side then. I don't want to shove anything extra over here. I'm just going to kind of let it lay. It goes at a bit of an angle. And then here's my waist dart. So there's the mark I made. It's going to be about that. Now in my skirt sloper, I said that we need 1/4 of an inch ease in the waist in each quadrant, which gives us an inch ease total. So I want the same thing for my bodice. So before I finalize all of this, I'm going to go on and put a pinch for ease here. Just consuming 1/4 of an inch. And now we can get that dart. Right there. because I've taken that pinch, I can have it against here pretty well. And really, it's best to pin these darts just closed, like muslin to muslin, not catching the dress form, because that's how it'll be sewn. I'll give it another one here for the moment. And now I can address the side bust dart. So I'm going to go on and release that. Smooth on around here. We could give it a tiny little ease pinch for our armhole. And here's the amount that goes into our side bust dart. Now, aesthetically, it looks nicer if it's not completely parallel to the floor, but a little bit at an upward angle. So, pointing at my apex, parallel to the floor would be here, and I want it to be lower than that. So I could, there's a pin to remind me. So maybe I want my first dart leg to be about 1/2 inch below that. End up about right there, maybe. Just makes it look a little like there's more upward versus downward and sagging. Okay, so let's see. I need to take a look from this angle. Okay, so smooth that down. Horizontal darts, the intake gets pressed down. And there. So I think I'm ready to mark. We will build in some wearing ease to the side here. We can do it on the table. That's where I prefer to do it, so that she gets actually 1/2 inch on each quadrant for 2 inches minimum wearing ease at the bust. But right now I'm just going to mark it without all that ease. So there is the seam for my dress form. I like to have the necks for standard jewel necks about 1/2 inch below that. And then I'll just make some small marks, dots, blending back to the seam. So now I'm at that shoulder seam and neck seam intersection. I'm going to make a good cross mark at my seam intersections. And here we are at the armhole. That's always a conundrum how to mark it, because you don't have anything real definite here. We want it to look sort of visually straight, like you don't want to see that armhole seam curving in. So I try to stay just on the ridge here. I'm about halfway down now. If I mark the bottom of the plate and try to kind of make a few marks between, then when I'm at the table, I'm going to drop it from the plate as well. Cross mark for my side seam. When I'm marking the side seams, I go to the back when I'm on the front, and then when I'm on the backs, I mark to the front. Because otherwise, if I mark to the front side of it and the back side of it, I've lost that tiny little bit there. And it always seems like you could use a little more ease. You know, typically things end up somehow a little too tight otherwise. Here at my dart, I'll make sure I get a good cross mark there at the dart legs. And down at the waist, I need to decide whether I'm a top of the tape or bottom of the tape person. I'm a top of the tape person. Cross mark there. I don't need to mark this waist ease because that's just gonna disappear. I'm just feeling through to get to that top of the tape. More cross marks there for the waist dart. And cross mark center front. There we go. I'm not drawing the lines in at this point because that's what I do on the table. I do need to know where my apex is, my point of bust, because these dart legs are going to have to get drawn to it. I'm marking it about right there. Okay. I'm going to go on and leave this here and make my back. So I'm going to bury some of these pins so that they're not sticking out and in my way when I do my back. So this is why I use the pins with very flat heads. If my pins had those big balls, it would be hard to bury them. There we go.